The fluorescent lights of the emergency room flickered softly above the rows of plastic chairs, casting pale shadows across the quiet hallway. Outside, the city slept under the deep stillness of midnight. But inside the hospital, time felt heavy, stretched thin between fear and hope. At the far end of the waiting area sat a man whose shoulders trembled with silent sobs. 32-year-old Aaron Malik had never imagined that the strongest moment of his life would look like this, his head buried in his hands, his heart breaking in a cold hospital hallway while machines beeped behind a closed door. His 6-year-old daughter, Noor, lay inside the emergency room fighting a severe allergic reaction that had spiraled out of control only hours earlier. Aaron had carried her into the hospital in his arms, her tiny body weak, her breathing uneven. The doctors rushed her away before he could even finish explaining what happened. Since then, all he could do was wait. Wait. And pray. Aaron had been a single father for 4 years. His wife had died in a car accident when Noor was barely 2. Since that day, life had been a constant uphill climb. 2 jobs, sleepless nights, endless bills, and the quiet weight of raising a little girl who often asked questions he didn't know how to answer. But no matter how hard life became, he never allowed himself to cry. Not when he struggled to pay rent. Not when he worked double shifts. Not even when he tucked Noor into bed and she whispered that she missed her mother. Tonight was different. Because tonight he was terrified he might lose the only person left in his world. Tears slipped down Aaron's face as he stared at the emergency room doors, his chest tightening with every passing minute. The hallway felt too quiet. Too empty. Too cruel. And then, without warning, the doors at the far end of the corridor opened. A woman stepped inside, her presence instantly noticeable in the otherwise dull hospital space. She looked to be in her early 40s, dressed in an elegant dark coat, her posture calm yet heavy with something unspoken. Her name was Celeste Whitmore, a billionaire widow whose name often appeared in newspapers and business magazines. But tonight she looked nothing like the powerful woman the world knew. Her eyes carried the same exhaustion, the same invisible grief that hung in the air around Aaron. Celeste had come to the hospital for a quiet midnight visit to the children's ward, something she did occasionally without cameras or publicity. Years ago, she had lost her only son to a rare illness. Since then, hospitals had become places where she returned, almost as if pieces of her heart still lived within their walls. As she walked through the waiting area, she noticed the man sitting alone, shoulders shaking, tears falling freely in the dim light. Something about that pain stopped her. She had seen grief before. She had lived inside it. Celeste hesitated for a moment before quietly taking the empty seat beside him. She did not ask questions immediately. Instead, she simply sat there, allowing the silence to settle between them like two strangers connected by something invisible. After a few minutes, Aaron realized someone was beside him. Embarrassed, he wiped his face quickly, trying to gather the small pieces of dignity he felt slipping away. Celeste spoke softly, her voice gentle and steady. She told him she understood that kind of pain. Those simple words were enough to break the wall Aaron had been trying so hard to hold up. Before we continue this emotional journey, take a moment to support stories like this. If you believe kindness and second chances still exist in the world, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, Touch of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Aaron slowly explained what had happened. Noor had eaten a dessert at a birthday party earlier that evening. At first everything seemed fine. But within minutes she began struggling to breathe. By the time Aaron rushed her to the hospital, panic had already taken over his mind. He kept blaming himself. Maybe he should have checked the ingredients more carefully. Maybe he should have reacted faster. Maybe he had failed as a father. Celeste listened carefully, her expression soft but serious. She did not interrupt. She understood that sometimes people didn't need solutions. They just needed someone who truly heard them. When Aaron finally finished, the hallway fell quiet again. Celeste looked toward the emergency room doors before speaking again. She shared something she rarely told strangers. Years earlier, her son had been admitted to this same hospital. A brilliant little boy who loved space and dreamed of becoming an astronaut. Doctors fought for months to save him. The best specialists, the most advanced treatments money could buy, none of it had been enough. Celeste had sat in these same plastic chairs countless nights, hoping for miracles that never came. The night he died, she remembered feeling something she had never felt before in her life. Powerless. For someone who owned companies, buildings, and fortunes across continents, it was a terrifying realization. Money could buy comfort. But it could never buy time. Aaron listened quietly, his breathing slowing as the weight of her words settled around him. In that strange moment, the difference between a struggling single father and a billionaire widow disappeared. They were simply two human beings who understood loss. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. Finally, the emergency room doors opened. A doctor stepped into the hallway holding a tablet and scanning the room. Aaron shot to his feet instantly, fear tightening every muscle in his body. The doctor explained that Noor's condition had stabilized. The allergic reaction had been severe, but they managed to control it in time. She would need to stay overnight for monitoring, but she was going to be okay. For a moment Aaron couldn't move. Relief hit him so suddenly that his legs almost gave out beneath him. Tears returned, but this time they were different. They were tears of gratitude. He thanked the doctor repeatedly before finally being allowed to see his daughter. As Aaron rushed toward the hospital room, he turned back briefly and looked at Celeste. Their eyes met in quiet understanding. Later that night, after Noor had fallen asleep in her hospital bed, Aaron stepped into the hallway again. Celeste was still there. They spoke for a long time. About life, about loss, and about the strange ways strangers sometimes enter our lives exactly when we need them most. Celeste learned about Aaron's endless work schedule and the challenges of raising Noor alone. Aaron learned about the foundation Celeste had created in her son's memory, an organization that quietly supported struggling families dealing with medical emergencies. Before leaving the hospital that night, Celeste made a decision that would quietly change Aaron and Noor's lives. She arranged for Noor to receive full medical support through her foundation, ensuring that every treatment, every specialist, and every emergency need would be covered. But she asked for one thing in return. She didn't want gratitude. She didn't want publicity. She simply asked Aaron to promise that one day, when life allowed it, he would pass kindness forward to someone else who needed it. Months passed. Noor recovered completely and returned to her bright, cheerful self. Aaron continued working hard, but life slowly became less overwhelming. For the first time in years, he felt like he could breathe again. But the most unexpected change was the friendship that grew between Aaron and Celeste. They met occasionally for coffee, sometimes with Noor joining them. The little girl adored Celeste almost instantly, often holding her hand and telling her long stories about school and her dreams of becoming a veterinarian. For Celeste, those moments filled a quiet space in her heart she had believed would remain empty forever. And for Aaron, Celeste's friendship reminded him that the world still held good people, people who appeared in the darkest moments carrying unexpected light. Years later, Aaron would often remember that midnight in the hospital hallway. The night he cried harder than he ever had before. The night a stranger sat beside him and said 4 simple words. "I know that pain." Those words did not erase his struggles. But they reminded him that no one truly walks through darkness alone. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who might need hope today, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness.